Judge Scott McAfee may have just shown his true colors with his most recent order. Either that or he's trying his best to keep himself safe while trying to maintain his order over the Georgia election interference case. So McAfee has already faced criticism for not removing both DA Fani Willis and prosecutor Nathan Wade from the Georgia election case, even though he himself already said that there was an odor of mendacity that needed to be removed. He still chose to only have one of the two relinquish their position from the case. And as we know, Wade took one for the team as he handed in a letter of resignation just hours after McAfee's ruling. The most recent ruling that we're now going to talk about is related to the freedom of speech. Donald Trump's legal team has tried to have this case dismissed on free speech grounds, basically saying that the former president had every right to say what was on his mind. McAfee rejected Donald Trump's claim and continues to uphold the criminal indictment against him, one where it's alleged that the former president tried to overturn the 2020 presidential elections.
2020 election are protected by the First Amendment. Now, the judge today roundly rejecting that argument, as we've seen him do multiple other times in this case for other defendants in Georgia, saying, look, quote, the defense has not presented, nor is the court able to find any authority that the speech and conduct alleged is protected political speech. He goes on to say that this argument is one that should be heard by a jury, not one that should be decided during pre-trial motions. That was the argument that prosecutors in Georgia made about a week ago in court before Judge McAfee. So this is just an example of this case in Georgia inching towards a potential trial. We know that the DA there has asked for a trial to start on August 5th, but Judge McAfee has not put a start date on the calendar yet. That really is the big thing we're looking for. But again, the judge continuing to work through these pretrial motions in Georgia, continuing to work toward and address these issues that have to be addressed before a trial can take place.
Does this make McAfee look weak? Some say yes, although it's probably because he wants to play it safe for his re-election this year. Now, we know that Trump questioned the results of the 2020 presidential election. There's no argument there. But is he alone in questioning the results of a presidential election? I'm sure you guys know who Hillary Clinton is, right? So Clinton lost the 2016 presidential election to Donald Trump. And while she supposedly accepted the results, she went on mainstream media the next year to basically do exactly what Donald Trump did. She questioned the results of the election. She even went as far as to say that Trump was an illegitimate president.
Being your candidate has been one of the greatest honors of my life.
No surprise. 3 years after the historic election of 2016, she's still grappling with defeat.
How are you doing now, and what are the metrics by which you know how you're doing on any given day?
Personally, I'm doing well, and having my grandchildren, and especially a new 2-month-old grandson, has been a gift beyond measure. I feel very blessed. I feel good. But I can't deny that a big part of me cares deeply about what's happening in the country, and what I fear is the damage that's being done to our future, the damage being done to our values, our institutions, and try to think of ways that I can help those who are on the front lines of the fight.
Your name doesn't come up much on any campaign except for Donald Trump's. Lock her up is still a big popular line.
I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows that there were a bunch of different reasons why the election turned out the way it did.
Clinton's memoir entitled What Happened devoted an entire chapter to Russia. As you guys may remember, Clinton alleges that Russia interfered with the elections back then. It almost seemed as if she was sure that it happened. She even called Trump the perfect Trojan horse for Vladimir Putin. Now, this has led a lot of critics to ask, when's the court date for Clinton? Will she be held with the same standard that they've put Trump under? And just to make it clear, a report from last year shows that the FBI rushed into an investigation against Russia and Trump without rationalized evidence. I'm opening up this entire thing with Clinton because we need to realize that things don't seem to be balanced when we're talking about Trump. Meaning that if Democrats do it, it's okay. If Trump does it, well, it's something that he has to go to court for. At least that's what many experts who are looking at all of this are saying. Now, getting back to McAfee's order, he also said that the expressions that Trump used in his speech are alleged to have been made to advance criminal activity. Many analysts don't necessarily agree with that because the idea is that Trump was speaking his mind. It's also a question for many since it can't be proven what Trump's intentions were. It's not like millions of Americans suddenly did whatever they were told. Now, McAfee has also rejected very similar First Amendment challenges from other defendants in this Georgia case. In the federal election interference case, the same argument was made and then rejected by Judge Tanya Kutkin, basically saying that Trump's actions cannot be considered protected political speech. This works for the prosecutors because they know that DA Fani Willis wants this thing going quickly as possible. The reasoning behind it is that she doesn't want to give Donald Trump a chance to win the White House. Most of these cases have been openly showing that they're pushed so as to keep Trump from winning the presidency. The same could be said for Attorney General Letitia James, Special Counsel Jack Smith, and even DA Alan Bragg. Donald Trump's lead defense counsel Steve Sado went on X to comment on McAfee's order. In a statement, Sado respectfully disagreed with Judge Scott McAfee with regards to this order. He also said that they're going to keep evaluating their options, which could mean that they could raise this all the way up to the Supreme Court. This means that this case could further be delayed by months, something that Fani Willis is not going to be happy about. That's because it's still possible that she is removed from this case. In fact, a petition was recently opened up to have her disqualified. The petition comes from the American Center for Law and Justice, and they're urging the Georgia Court of Appeals to hear their plea. I think they have around 43,000 signatures already, with just 7,000 short of their goal. By the time this video is out, they may have already smashed that goal out of the park. Now, speaking of which, Dwayne Johnson, also known as The Rock, recently dealt a smashing blow to President Joe Biden. 4 years ago, Dwayne Johnson endorsed President Biden, citing his compassion, heart, drive, and soul. He did the same thing for Kamala Harris, but this time around, he says that he's not giving them anything.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is saying he will not be endorsing Joe Biden for president as he once did during the last presidential election. During an interview with Fox News, Johnson expressed some regret about his 2020 endorsement for Biden and Kamala Harris, saying he won't endorse any candidate this year.
The endorsement that I made years ago with Biden was one I thought was the best decision for me at that time.
He continued, "I thought I'm in this position where I have some influence, and I felt it was my job then to exercise my influence and share. This is who I'm going to endorse. I'm not going to do that."
The takeaway after that, months and months and months, I started to realize, like, oh man, that caused an incredible amount of division in our country. So I realize now going into this election, I'm not going to do that.
He went on to say, "My goal is to bring this country together. I believe in that. There will be no endorsement. At this level of influence, I will keep my politics to myself. It's between me and the ballot box."
I do trust the American people, and I trust that whoever they vote for, that's going to be my president, and that's who I'm going to support 100%.
Asked if he was happy with the state of America right now, Johnson replied no.
Now, while his endorsement doesn't carry any kind of political clout, it's not a secret that this guy is incredibly popular. I mean, it is The Rock. And there's something that he said that could sway the minds of millions of voters. He basically said that he's not happy with the state of our country right now, but The Rock does believe that things could get better. He also said that he thought he was making the right choice when he endorsed Biden, but this time around, he's going to keep his political thoughts to himself. In short, it sure doesn't seem like The Rock's going to be voting for President Biden because America is now a shell of what it once was. Could it mean that The Rock's going to be voting for Trump? Now, we can't be too certain about that, but it's pretty easy to put the dots together that he's done with President Biden. So what do you guys make of all this? It's a very tough call to make because it's abundantly clear that the rules just keep changing for Trump. But as always, I'm going to do my best to keep you guys informed. I want to thank y'all for hitting the like button. Thank you for sharing this video, and I'll see you on the next one.